Hey everyone, welcome aboard. Today we're diving into the absolutely fascinating world of educational data science. For the longest time, we've poured all our energy into just creating awesome educational content. But today, we're going to flip the script. We're looking at a totally new way to actually understand and improve that content once it's out there. So let's get right into it. Picture this for a second. You've just built this incredible, state-of-the-art K-pop dance VR app, or maybe a super slick Korean conversation chatbot. It looks perfect, but then that nagging question hits you. Are your learners actually learning anything? Or are they just sitting there quietly pulling their hair out in frustration? Like, how do you know where they're getting stuck, or what parts they literally can't get enough of? Well, to figure that out, we need a little help.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll start with listening to the learner's voice, cover the basics of data analytics, see how this all applies to K-culture data, explore the magic of visualization, and finally wrap up by moving from pure intuition to hard evidence.
So, Section 1, the learner's voice. This is all about listening to those hidden signals in education. We really need to shift our mindset here. When people hear the word data, they instantly think of, intimidating math and endless spreadsheets. But scratch that. Data isn't just numbers. It is literally the hidden voice of your learner. It's their unconscious behavior. It's them whispering, hey, this part is way too hard, or shouting, I love this section. We just have to know how to listen to it. In the academic world, we call this learning analytics. But let's skip the dense textbook definitions. Simply put, for beginners like us jumping into this, it's just the science of understanding the learning process through data. We're essentially using data as a magnifying glass to see how people actually learn. Moving on to Section 2, the basics of analytics. Specifically, we're looking at explicit versus implicit data. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we categorize those voices we're trying to listen to. You've got explicit data, things like survey answers or quiz scores. That's when a learner straight up tells you they're satisfied. But then you have implicit data. Think about clicks, where someone pauses, or if they rewatch a specific VR dance move 3 times in a row. And honestly, that implicit data, those unconscious actions, often tell us the raw, unfiltered truth way better than any survey ever could. All right, Section 3, K-culture and data. Let's see how we apply all this specifically to cultural education. When we're building K-culture learning tools, we absolutely need specific data points, like what exact Korean pronunciation errors do foreign learners keep making, or at what specific timestamp does a user just give up during a K-pop dance routine. Without tracking these recurring issues, we're flying blind. We literally can't create personalized pronunciation feedback or adjust the difficulty of that dance without this information. So how in the world do we keep track of all these tiny little actions? Enter XAPI. It sounds super technical, but it's basically a really smart framework. Think of it as a tool that translates every single thing a learner does into a standardized, super simple sentence that any system can easily understand. The framework here is actually brilliant. It breaks down into an actor, a verb, and an object. So, for example, Sato, that's our actor, learned, our verb, the first K-pop VR dance move, the object. You see what we did there? Every single interaction becomes a neat little diary entry. It's incredibly clean and makes tracking behavior an absolute breeze. Which brings us to Section 4, the magic of visualization. It's time to turn those raw ingredients into a feast. Okay, so we've collected this mountain of data, but raw data is just like raw cooking ingredients. You can't just serve it as is. If you pull up thousands of rows from your learners, it's just a chaotic, endless wall of letters and numbers. I mean, you can stare at a spreadsheet all day long and you won't spot a single trend. It's totally overwhelming, right? But ta-da! This is where the magic happens. We take that exact same messy data and turn it into a simple visual bar chart. And boom! Without reading a single line of text, you can see in literally 1 second that the VR dance activity is getting way more engagement than the grammar quiz. Visualizing complex data is just a massive game changer. It lets our brains intuitively spot trends and compare things instantly. It's the exact same story when we look at how study time is distributed visually. You instantly see exactly where learners are spending their time. Half on VR, 30% on vocab, 20% on reading. If we see that vocabulary practice time dropping off a cliff, we get this visual aha moment. We can spot the risk of someone dropping out and actually fix the problem before it even happens. Finally, let's hit Section 5, Intuition to Evidence. This is all about becoming a true educational innovator.
Everything we've talked about, collecting the data, visualizing it, it all boils down to one massive shift. We have to say goodbye to the old way. No more saying, well, I think the students will like this game. We've got to move past guessing based on assumptions. The new way? We use the rock-solid evidence those charts give us to make our decisions. That is how you evolve from just making content to being a true, evidence-based educational innovator.
I really hope today's journey sparked some new ideas for you. Intuition is great, but now you have the tools to actually listen to what your learners are telling you. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. When you start building your very next piece of educational content, what hard evidence is it going to be based on? Think about it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you next time.